Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Primas podcast. I am Prima Cindy, and the other box you see is Prima Jess. Prima
Hey
Jess.
everyone. Hi. Sorry, I thought you were.
Okay. See, this is what happens. Go ahead, Jess. Go ahead. I'm gonna.
Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everyone had an amazing week, and thanks for tuning in again this week. We appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a rough start for the both of us, but it's okay. Let's just put it out there before someone's like, get another job, hobby.
Know, right? Get another hobby for sure. And I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna think about our options this week.
I do agree. I feel like this side's more puffy than this side, but I think because whatever.
I like it. Your hair looks really long right now, actually. I was just gonna tell you that.
I know. I need to cut it.
I know.
Look at how long this is. Look at how long my hair is.
There was a phase where Cindy would just get scissor happy and just cut off everything, all her hair all the time. And she's like, look, I did it again. And I was like, you just did it yesterday. She's like, I know, but I did it again. And I was just like, stop doing that.
Oh, Jess. You're so funny. Funny, Jess. But look at how puffy this side is. And this side's like, no. Two different personalities.
She's going to get some scissors and make it happen so that side gets puffy. She's like, I just had to take off some weight.
Yes, that is a good analogy. And I think so. And then, you start a new trend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So today we are going to talk about, this is a little bit like in our food justice realm. And we believe that food justice is access to nutritious food, but more than that is knowledge to why we need access to this nutritious food. So
have we talked about food justice this season, or was it just season 2?
I think just season 2.
Okay, yeah. So this is a part 2 of that. And we're always going to continuously talk about it. So since season 2, yeah, a lot has changed within our own diets, no?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And just a little recap. I've worked in different areas of public health, and then I had the super blessing to have the opportunity to teach food justice through a cooking program that I developed for high school that I worked at. And so I'm very passionate about getting the word out about why the things that we eat are so important to our health. As human beings, me and Jessica we have Mexican roots. And so we also speak specifically to the type of diets that is in the Mexican culture. Mm-hmm. And so, but it's across the board, we're not the most unhealthiest culture. It's just some of the things that come up or that are coming up as we age with just seeing the different manifestations of the life choices that we make, whether we know that we're making the right choice or not. We're all trying the best that we can. Mm-hmm. But I think it's just something very powerful. We talk a lot about social justice in many different ways. And I think food justice it's what we eat.
Correct.
And it's no, I'm just fine.
Yeah. And I remember back in our early 20s, we would survive and go on trips off the dollar menu of McDonald's. And then at some point, fast forward, 10 years into our 30s, we started noticing, well, you noticed it a little earlier than your 30s. But for me, my journey started about late last year, early this year. And it's all about perspective, I think. I think that's going to be a key term in today's conversation. It's because how we view food, and before it's just I love it, I crave it, or I just want this, whatever it may be. But when you start changing your perspective on how you view food, and I'm quoting a book that I just finished reading, which I posted from Garth Davis, a proteinaholic. He said food is our fuel. And I was just I never saw food like that. I just thought it's it's going to get me through my next meal, but longevity, down the line, I don't want to be pumping garbage fuel in my body. I want to give it the best kind of fuel because I know it sounds silly, but my goal is to live to 100 years old. And if I don't change aspects of my diet today, fast forward to 20 more years, in our 50s and our 60s, I don't want to live a lifestyle that I've seen. Yeah, so we're going to jump into it, but you're right, Cindy.
Yeah, that's a good point about the different perspective, or in other words, our individual relationships with food, right? And like you said,
do you hear the helicopter?
No.
Or is it mute?
I can't hear it right now, but I wonder if like when we're listening to it in the car, it's like, oh, Cypress, sounds like Cypress Park.
I know. Sorry, guys. I still live in the hood. The ghetto bird is always hovering over.
Don't worry, Jess.
One day we're going to get out of here and look back.
We're going to look back. Okay. But anyways, so our individual relationship with food, I think that's a good one, because I think a lot of us, we have so much going on, life happens, and then all of a sudden now we got to think about a basic human need. We need food, like we need water, like we need sleep, to recharge. Like we need so many basic human needs in order for us to thrive as humans. Food is our energy. So that quote that you said, our fuel, it literally, chemically, biologically is our energy source to keep being a human on the planet, right? Like if we neglect that, then you start to see either a decrease or a decline in our quality of life, meaning that earlier you were saying some of the things that are going on around us. And what do we mean by that? We mean heart disease. My grandma, as of a few years back, she started to eat really badly. And I think that came from an emotional place. Obviously, all of our negative manifestations or behaviors do. And so I think for my grandma, it was food, right? And it was cheap food. And she started to gain weight, and she's had so many different heart surgeries because her arteries clog. And the first time that happened, I was still like, whoa, this is such a delicate situation. You could have just had a heart attack. But it just so happened don't distract me, Jessica. I'm on a roll.
You kind of broke up. It's my service on my end. So it's like you froze. So when that happens, I sort of have to move my laptop, or maybe not, but in my head I do.
Where did I stop off, that you think?
So you were talking about grandma and eating cheap food is what I got last.
That was a long time ago, Jess. That was like 5 minutes ago. Okay. Like I came to a conclusion. Okay.
You brought it together.
Yeah. So we tend to normalize different heart disease issues, or different cancers in our family, or different inflammation issues like arthritis. My grandma also has that. Just a bunch of different, or inflammation. Like me, for example, I am very sensitive to the foods that I eat because I have like hormonal acne, and my diet, you would never think, right? But I've learned this, our hormones and everything has to do with our diet. And I'm just more sensitive to it. And I think that's why I started to look into stuff sooner, because I'm very like whatever I eat, it's going to reflect whether it's good or bad. And I remember with Jessica, it wasn't the case. And that's when I started to learn every single person is so different, and our bodies react so differently to certain things. And so never compare yourself, to, it's just, we lived very similar lifestyles.
I remember one time we were eating.
All of the bad stuff came to me, and Jessica was like, hey, well, see you next time. And I'm like,
we'll
what?
Get better. Yeah. I remember one time we ate the same food, and we were like even sharing each other's like breakfast. And you got food poisoning and I didn't.
I
was
died.
Just like
and Jessica was like, no, I feel fine. I was like, okay, well, if I don't make it. It was so, and I'm like, and Jessica was like, that would happen to you. She used to always say that I had bad luck. That's the type of support She's like, it's so funny because you have so much bad luck. And I'm like, okay. And this is me trying to figure my shit out. And Jessica's like, that's cute, Prima. That shit's always falling apart. Funny. It makes for good entertainment.
I'd always say like, fuck, we'd make so much money off like a reality show. Cause like, we can't even make this stuff up. That happens to you, specifically you. Yeah. It's like, that happened again? That was your Tuesday, dude? Like, fuck.
It happened a lot. And I used to get a lot of food poisoning. I'm like, what is happening? I'm a dying okay. So because I was so sensitive to the food I ate, I still am. The inflammation that I'm talking about, for me, it was acne. For other people, it could be arthritis. For other people, it could be, like a bigger gut. And that can be from the foods that we eat, like beer or processed meats or meats. But today we're going to talk about fiber, which is a solution to our bad diets and
poor choices. Yeah.
poor choices. And there is no judgment. We're really just trying to get information out there as we learn it. We're not saying that if you don't practice these things, you're a bad person. We are no one. We are no one to judge.
Yeah. And we're still pretty bad people. We're still trying not to be bad people.
Yeah. We just hear something. We're like, okay, we're going to try to apply that concept. But also we're human. So
exactly.
Don't get stressed out. Because stress and diet, that is a huge factor in what type of life you're going to have. If you're going to have pains on a regular basis, or constipation on a regular basis, or some of these things that, again, we normalize in our culture. And it's it doesn't have to go down that way.
Yeah. Look at J-Lo. I want to age like J-Lo. She looks better than us, and she's 20 years older.
And J-Lo has access, which has a lot to do with food justice, who has access or not to those types of quality foods. And she also had access to that education. She probably said, let me hire a nutritionist, a personal trainer, and then they take care of that for you. Because she knew, well, I have to look good. I have to age well. This is my moneymaker. And some people don't have access. Most people do not have access, right, to that information. We're not getting it taught in schools.
Correct.
And so we have to do a lot of that work by ourselves. And it takes a lot of mental discipline to be all right, I'm going to learn this. Which brings me to my next point, Jess. So you started to make a transition because you're starting to identify more as a plant eater. And so, yeah, how's that going? I think this is important because Jessica one day was like, I heard a motivating speech and I'm going vegan tomorrow. And I was like, okay.
It doesn't happen like that.
Well, because I've done that too. I just have done those mistakes where I'm like, that's it. I'm cutting this out forever. And it's no, it doesn't work that way. Right. So
yeah.
How's it going?
Yeah, it started in March of this year. So what, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 months into being a vegan, and it is tough. And Cindy makes fun of me because I don't know what other term to use, but I always tell people I'm transitioning into a vegan diet. So I haven't gone cold turkey yet. I still consume, this weekend, I made a poor choice and I ate asada fries, and it really messed my stomach up because I hardly eat red meat anymore and cheese and dairy, right? So, in 6 months, yeah, I've cut out almost all my dairy products. And started using different sources for protein. But I'm glad we're talking about this topic because through my vegan transition, the word fiber kept coming around, and as I was telling Cindy, it was not so long ago, we were talking about using the restroom, right? How frequent would we go? And I'm like, whoa, since becoming a vegan, I'd go 2 or 3 times a day now, after I eat, my body just flushes it out because I'm consuming more vegetables. I'm consuming more fruits in my diet, never before, and it's all thanks to this book, Proteinaholic, that tells us we're really addicted to protein, and that animal processed stuff, which doesn't provide a lot of fiber. You have to get it in different forms that I wasn't very informed about. And Cindy's like, dude, you've never used to go that often. And it's funny how we're talking about that, right? But it's a serious conversation, I know with my daughter, it's funny because I'd always talk to my mom and we co-parent with her dad. And it's that constant conversation, oh, well, did Melody go to the restroom today? Or when was the last time she went? Because that's very important. And then I question, well, when did that disconnect happen? When did we normalize not going as often or monitoring it, because before my vegan diet, I would go 2 or 3 times 2 or 3 times like in days, right? Like it would be 2 to 3 days at a
You're like,
time.
It's
Yeah.
Tuesday.
So it's just like, I don't know. I think it's trippy how we just kind of lost that disconnect at some point. But I try to make sure my daughter goes every day as well, or like monitor that. And I'm always like giving her fruits and, just to normalize that flow, but I think fiber is an underestimated vitamin, or what is it? Nutrient. Yes.
Everything is a nutrient. Well, not everything, but the things we consume.
Correct.
You said earlier that since you became vegan, you're not vegan, right?
Right. It's a transition.
You're transitioning.
Yeah.
You're not fully there. You're not fully transitioned.
I couldn't go cold turkey. Yeah.
Yeah. But also veganism doesn't necessarily contribute to a healthy bowel situation. And when I say bowels, because I'm going to say that a lot, I'm talking about poops. I just feel like bowels is a little bit
proper. Yeah.
More proper sounding. I don't know. And so, yeah. So because you can be vegan and not consume a high level of fiber or, like fruits and vegetables. And so just to make that distinction, it doesn't mean that if you go vegan, because you can go vegan, like someone might see something and they're like, oh no, I can't, but they're not ready. You're going to be missing out on a lot of nutrients that your body needs. You're going to maybe become anemic if you don't understand how much protein you need. You can have like different super low energy. Like you don't need that. So don't ever make a dietary choice that quickly. Like try to inform yourself as much as possible. Watch YouTube videos, read books, watch documentaries, and don't do anything based off of one thing. Because we're so emotional. I used to do that a lot. Like when I saw the documentary on dairy, I was like, that's it. And I was just like, anti-dairy for like ever. And now I eat cheese every once in a while. But, so that didn't help me because I wasn't able to just quit dairy because I'm like, what am I going to supplement that with? The way that we eat is very behavioral. It's very like a pattern. We have our preferences of what we like. And so if I'm waking up every morning and I'm eating yogurt, and now one day I decide that's it. I'm not doing yogurt no more. It's like, well, what are you going to supplement that protein with and calcium? And so that's why it's important to make sure that you get educated. You ask different people's opinions. If you have access to nutritionists or dietitianists, like ask them for their opinion. Just collect a lot of information and do what works for you. Because something like a diet change is a huge thing. It's not easy. Correct. Which is why I'm very not against it, but I'm like, that's not going to work, is when people are like, cut this out and forever, quit cold turkey. Sometimes that works, but for the reality of like most of us, we're doing so much where it's like, make shit a little bit easier for yourself so that you're not stressing more now on dietary choices.
Exactly. Yeah. And with that, I started just about 2 months ago taking vitamins. So not only was I taking like multivitamins, I was taking those vitamins that I read upon that vegans typically lack on. And then I took like a physical and I did blood work. And, I was just being like totally precautious about it and not going cold turkey for that reason, because I'm like, no, like my body has been conditioned for 31 years to eat these products, and I crave it sometimes. And sometimes I don't have the strength. I wish like the universe would grant it to me, but I'm human and I'm weak and I make bad choices. But it's I'm being more conscious of the things that I do put inside my body, because I do like how I feel since March. I do see the energy change and I like it. So I think I'm on the right path for myself. And for like other ethical reasons, like animal cruelty, but mostly like what interest and intrigued me about this was going back to like a natural state, right? Where I'm not eating as much processed food and I want to eat more fresh and healthy stuff throughout the week. Like I don't want to eat out as often, I don't want to eat certain things. And those are the little baby steps that I think, Prima, you were referencing. Like, just don't go cold turkey. Like see what works, see what doesn't work. And I started little by little. And here I am barely 6 months into it. And I like this path still, I don't think I have it all figured out yet, but eventually I will.
It's so much information that you have to learn. So it's not like I still don't have it down at all. Not at all. Like I have a better idea because I've experimented for so many years, but So I'm coming to a lot of like, okay, well, I tried that. That didn't work. So you know what I mean? Like you start making those connections, but it takes a really long time. And it's not something that you just like, okay, I get it now. I think it's because we are always we're also in a constant state of change. Our age, our environment, our life circumstances, so much. And so
our mindset.
And so all of that has to do with, okay, well, that worked for me in my 30s, or, oh, that worked for me during maybe, I don't know, like there's just so much that can impact that. And so part of that solution is set yourself up for success. For me, it's like, don't bring junk food into the house because I'm going to crave it. I'm going to think about it. My daughter, I'm modeling for my daughter who is already a picky eater. And so, you know what I mean? So there, it's like, set yourself up for success. Last week you went to a family barbecue and our family eats a lot of meat. And you were like, oh, I'm going to take toast and avocado. And I was like, oh my God, yes. Like what that? Yes. Like good. Like you thought of that. And it was just exciting because it's like, it's really hard when you go to a family. I mean, you're looking at all this delicious food that you're used to eating for years. It's, you get a lot of pleasure from it. So it's almost like someone who's trying to get off of drugs and then being like, but here's like a buffet of your favorite things of drugs. It's so hard. Setting yourself up for success would mean take something with you to distract you from that because it's going to be hard. And so those steps, for example, like, and know that one day you had asada fries, shout out El Atacor. And
I know, dude.
That's our spot. And, and they're delicious. And when you told me like, oh, I feel horrible, I'm like, in your journey, if you really do start to clean up, if you go for years with eating a high fiber diet, you're going to clean up a lot of the damage that we've made. And what that means is that when you do have cheat days, you won't feel sick. You'll be able to process the food because that's what happens to me now. I can eat something and I know it'll probably mess with my energy. And so, you know what I mean? Like that'll suck. Like, oh great, I'm going to eat this meal. I already know what it's going to do to me, but it's just like pull through. You're on vacation or you're traveling or, it's times where I can't eat the food that I want to eat. And so, yeah, fiber. Okay. So it is recommended that we eat 30 grams of fiber per day. That's ideal. I don't count my calories like that. I used to, but not necessarily fiber. I would count my macros. And I think the best rule of thumb, if we're going to be real, is to try to include as much fruit and vegetables to every meal that you have in the day. And pick something that you already like. A lot of people, we disconnected from that part of natural, right? Like we're so disconnected from our natural world that even the foods that we eat are not natural. Packaged foods or foods that are high in preservatives means that they have more shelf life. They can be in the shelf longer. It's not going to go to waste faster. And so there's just a bigger chance of a profit for that product versus a natural product. And so that's the business idea behind that, is that how can, if you're trying to sell, you can't think, well, how is this going to come off to this person? Hopefully you would, right? That's thinking of the quality of what you're selling. But, you get money hungry, you get in this business mindset where it's like, just sell. And that's our American food system. It's just, who cares what it is? Sell it. And if sugar sells, sell it, put it in everything. Yeah.
That's true. I do try to incorporate in every meal now. And before I didn't, it was all about protein and animal meat, that was the emphasis of every meal. And now it's not. Now I'm changing my perspective. And I am thinking about okay, well, what veggies? And I'm not the hugest fan of veggies still. So a lot of my choices are very limited, but it's still I'm eating a lot of the same things, but I'm changing it up a little bit. And I wasn't the biggest fan of broccoli. And now I love broccoli and I could just eat it plain or steamed. And then I also pair it with a vegetable, and I love berries. So I can eat strawberries, blueberries, and all that. And cucumber, I love pepinos. And sometimes I won't even put salt, just lemon and a little bit of tahini. But that's it. It's still not that bad, I'm still eating the nutrients that it gives us, which is the fiber.
Yeah.
And that, I think that also has like contributed to my bowel movements, like going up in like a day, which, yeah, I'm pretty proud of, because I just think that's normal. I think it should be like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Good. So what is fiber? A lot of you might know this, but we want to just, pay our tribute to fiber. So there is two types of fibers. And it's basically plant material, well, the natural fiber, because we'll get into a little bit like the fake fiber. But so it's like rough plant material that isn't easily digestible by our enzymes. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Which means that it'll stay in your system longer, and our body can absorb its nutrients. And when I say our body, I'm specifically talking about our gut bacteria. And so fiber is very, very important. We keep saying bowels. It's very important for our intestine, our large intestines. And it's very important for our heart health. And so a lot of the diseases that go on in our culture, like diabetes, different types of heart issues,
high blood pressure,
inflammation. So again, inflammation can do so many different things to the body, depending on again, we're like so individual, but all of these foods have always been linked to the same diseases, meaning that we're going down and we're aging very badly because, again, our stressors, our environment, the way we think, and also the food we intake. Because the food that we are eating, which is not traditionally high in fiber, we eat a high diet of like meats, red meats, particularly dairy. So cheese, ice cream, yogurt, creams, sour cream, and processed foods. And when I say processed foods, I also want to mention like white or refined grains, like white pasta, white rice, white bread. So there, that's the foods that we eat. And then those foods are going to, there's no fiber in it, basically. So we have to add all of these fruits and vegetables back into our fiber, where now it's like, if there's no piece of meat, that's not considered food, right? In our culture. And the other cause, there's a huge connection. So do your own research. Again, we're just trying to share information that we share. We're not dietitianists, we're not nutritionists. But when I was trying to,
before you go to your like point, that's so true, because in the book he says that in like the Proteinaholic, he said in like the 1950s is like when that trend started, when it was normalized before like the 1950s, when like the production of like fast food and all that came about. It was normal to eat meat like once a week or only in special occasions. And then after that, like fast forward, we were eating animal meat or like protein meat 4 to 5 times a day. So like in a serving, so it was in our lunch, our breakfast, our dinner, our snacks, and so forth. And I thought, whoa, that's a lot, So like, I know we're born to like digest it, but I don't think in that amount. So it's also like in moderation, that was normalized.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you interrupted me. Moderation, and also we had less refined foods. So we craved natural foods before. We're like, okay, cool, a piece of meat, and then also, I don't know, vegetables.
Natural sugars
were a big deal, and people now, our palate isn't even used to those things anymore. We think they're so bland because we're so used to highly processed foods, which contain addicting ingredients like salt, sugar, and fat. So yeah, if you're and then meat, so healthy protein and fiber together, and we'll talk about different options of what is healthy protein and fiber, is going to keep you fuller longer. That's my method. I don't know if it's the correct one, but it really works with me when I eat like a protein. And I usually, if I am eating meat, my only protein would be chicken, but I'm starting to wean off of chicken because I was starting to see some correlation between chicken and acne, like hormonal acne spikes. So there's different reasons why people change their diet. Obviously the animal cruelty is a big one, but that wasn't, I have to be honest, not the first reason why I chose to stay away and start going more plant-based.
That's why
So, and
bad
then I
karma always
also,
happens to you. That's exactly why.
yeah, it's my karma.
Mhm.
And I also eat eggs, and eggs are definitely not good for people who have hormonal acne. Well, at least the egg yolk, which is a concentration of hormones. So it's like,
Ooh.
and
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
like
hard
the
to eat
worst.
egg whites for me.
Yeah.
But so I do a lot of stuff to try to calm shit down. Like I try to do a lot of green vegetables to like digest when I am eating animal product. So anyway,
I love eggs. I thought that was going to be my hardest thing to give up too. And no, like I don't even have a carton of eggs. Like I haven't for a long time. But I used to eat boiled eggs all the time for breakfast, or like just egg with hash brown, or I don't know, just love eggs
yeah,
in its
I
variety. We need to
love
have an
eggs.
episode of eggs for sure.
Yeah, I love, love, love eggs in
Me
so many
too.
different ways.
Me
So yeah,
too.
that's a hard one. And I do eat it every day. So okay, I don't know what I was saying. Oh yeah, there's two types of fiber. We need both. So if you ever hear like, oh, this is really high in soluble fiber, this is really high in insoluble fiber. We need both. So don't just eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. So soluble fiber is connected to heart health. And so it's kind of like a sponge, and it soaks up the bad cholesterol and empties it from our body. I'm going to like write the different papers and like videos that I saw. So this isn't me saying it. I saw like different like nurse dietitianists give like different speeches around fiber, particularly in diabetes patients. And so that's where I got this information from. But anyway, and so insoluble fiber is connected to our healthy bowel movements. So do you know how our poop should be? Like what's the healthiest way it should present itself? I don't know how to explain it.
I think I heard once, I must have learned it. It's like together and like sort of soft, but not really too watery. Like not too hard or not too soft, but like in the middle, like where it's like a form.
Okay, that's good. So pay attention to your poops. This is a huge indicator of where your body is at. So it's supposed to be heavy, bulky, and it should travel smoothly through the digestive tract. That means that you're having enough water, you're having enough fiber, and that's just a good sign. When you're having issues with your gut, which when I say gut, I'm talking about stomach, our small and large intestine, and then our rectum, because having low fiber also contributes to hemorrhoids and colon cancer. Why are you laughing?
I know, it's just
poop?
I know. We're being so scientific and like proper when it comes to like shit. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, we've also like been like, gross, poop is disgusting. Like, no, it's a sign. It's
Exactly.
who we are, right? It says so much
Yeah.
about us. So it's like, it's not disgusting. That's what you're eating.
Mhm.
So yeah. So if you have constipation or hemorrhoids, and a lot of colon cancers are linked with men, if when people trace back research wise, they find that those men didn't have a high fiber diet, they had a high meat diet, red meat particularly. Again, this is not my personal opinion. All the stuff that I'm saying right now is based off of research papers that I'm going to add to the YouTube description. Yeah. So what is soluble fiber? So some examples are oats, apples, and beans. So oatmeal, apples and beans. There's different types of beans. There's black beans, kidney beans, garbanzo beans, pinto beans. And then insoluble fiber consists of things like different grains like rye, bran, and then celery. These are just some examples. We'll give more examples, but basically just you want to increase your fruit and vegetable intake is where you'll get the most fiber from. Should I keep going? Because I got notes for days.
No, I think, well, those are two good points. Yeah, because I always thought there was just like one fiber,
Yeah.
But they go hand in hand. And that's like a good point to bring up and be mindful of, And oats, yeah, lately that has been my breakfast, is like variation of oatmeal. And then for my morning snack, it's usually a fruit, which it's so easy to eat an apple or banana. So I switch off with those two.
Oh, that's really healthy.
Yeah. So
I can't. Yeah, I can't do it like that. I can't eat fruit like that. So I add it to my smoothies, but good for
that's
you.
good. See, we're different.
Yeah.
We're not the same person after all.
We aren't. Oh, quick. When we talk about apples, for example, or potatoes or cucumber, the peeling, so things that are edible, like potato peeling when they're cooked, we want to leave peelings on fruits and vegetables as much as possible because that's where the fiber is. After that, there are vitamins and minerals, but once you remove the peeling on a lot of vegetables, a lot of our fruits and vegetables are water-based. And so we're not going to get we're not going to get everything that we should be getting. So like, don't peel your apples for your babies. I know that sounds harsh because it's like, what if they choke? But like in third world countries or like in places like Mexico, it'd be crazy to say, oh, I'm going to peel this apple to them. Because it's like, no, we need as much of this product, and so I don't know, if a baby is choking, they also have to practice their reflexes and pay attention to when they're eating. And then just like, did you ever have to do that where your baby's choking, you got to stick your finger in there and just clear the airway?
I've had a few scares, but never like anything.
Yeah, me neither.
Crazy.
My daughter used to choke a lot, but it wasn't really choking, but like on water.
Yeah, same.
And she's just like, just take it so quick. Melody too. She would take it so quick that I'm just like, she wasn't choking, but you're blocking, temporarily blocking your airway.
I would just smack her so hard in the back, like, stop it.
Yeah, but we're not trying to give baby advice.
Yeah.
Do what you can.
Yeah, I like that.
So regarding heart health, fiber lowers total cholesterol. Regarding diabetes, it stabilizes blood sugar regulation. Regarding gut health, it alleviates constipation and hemorrhoids. And regarding cancer, it's been linked to cancer prevention, specifically colorectal cancer, which again, a lot of men have. And I think I don't know, but this is a link. I don't know who am I to say like, oh, I think it is that, but I kind of do think it is. Who knows? Okay. And then regarding weight, it also promotes the fact that we feel fuller longer when we eat whole foods, like fruits and vegetables. They don't have too many, calories. Although like if you're on the keto diet, some people are like, yes, they do. But we're not talking about diets. We're talking about do what's accessible to you and be mindful and set yourself up for success, whatever that means to you. And so, so this is what I do. This is my secret or my diet secret is I pair a lot protein and vegetable or fruit. And when I say fruit, I'm not talking about an apple. I mean like tomato, avocado, a fat. Fats are also very important. You can get that from peanut butter and nuts and seeds. So you don't want just any type of fats. And so anyways, when you pair that, you are fuller longer. And if you don't do it that way, if we eat like pasta, like white pasta, then you're going to be fuller or you're going to be hungry soon after because it didn't sit in your stomach long enough. Like clean proteins, actually any protein is going to sit in your system, but meat, especially red meat, it takes a really long time to digest. And it's just disgusting because a lot of these foods, they shouldn't be anywhere for that long. And meat, the fact that it's inside of us for so long, after it's been dead for so long, after it's been processed, after we've digested it, that's just not healthy for our functioning. It's going to take a long time to break it down. And that just
doesn't sound good for us. Yeah. It doesn't sit well with me either. Yeah.
And if you do have a high meat diet, the other thing that you want to do besides starting to add fruits and vegetables is drink a lot of water. A lot. That's another one. If you are more tolerant of water than of vegetable, then try to also balance it, because I think water is a huge one that we don't think about because we might fill ourselves up with either a sugary beverage, with beer, and then it's like, well, yeah, you don't want water anymore, but now there's no water in your system besides the water from those beverages, but there's also like a lot of sugar and fat stuff. Okay, how much more time do we have?
And we don't even have a solution. This whole
I-
conversation is a solution.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, I have a lot of solutions. Okay.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to, not last thing, but like 3 more things. So, whole grains versus refined grains. What does that mean? Refined grains is like Mexican rice is made with white rice, and that is a refined grain.
Mm-hmm.
So a whole grain has 3 main parts. If you look at a seed, pretend this, no. Okay, if you look at a seed of a grain, like a tiny grain, right? If we microscoped it, whatever, you have the bran, which is the outer layer. It's kind of like brown. And then when you open it, you have the starchy part, which is called the endosperm. And then there is a germ in there, which is a little tinier seed. So the bran contains fiber and vitamin Bs. The endosperm, which is the starchy part, contains a little bit of protein. And then the germ, the little ball in there, contains more vitamin Bs, some protein, minerals, oils, and fat. So that is a whole grain. White rice, what they do, or white pastas, white bread, is they remove the bran and then they remove the germ, because since the germ contains those fats and those oils, it doesn't have a long shelf life. If you remove the bran, it's just easier to process. And so a lot of this, again, it was based off of how can we sell this? How can we get this out there? And so when we're eating white rice, we're not getting fuller longer. It's starch, which most foods that we eat will turn into sugar in our body. That's a carb. So it's already sugar, even though it might not taste like sugar in our bodies, it'll translate as sugar. So that's what we mean by whole grains. So whole grains have high fiber, refined grains do not. So
yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for breaking
that
down. Yeah, because a lot of people just automatically think like, oh, rice is carbs or this and that, and it's so bad. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be, but you just got to be mindful and just pick out the whole grain option.
Yes. And how do you find that? Is by when you turn a product around, the front is like the commercial. It's pretty, it's fun, it tells you stuff you want to hear. Like, this isn't healthy, but my daughter wanted, this is her junk food in my house. And it's fruit and veggies on the go with plant-based prebiotic fiber, apple, strawberry, pomegranate, spinach, gluten, nut-free, and dairy-free. So it just sounds like, oh my God. And then look at the pictures. And it's just like, this is so healthy. And then when you turn it around, this one's in color, but most nutrition stuff is in black and white. It's boring. No one understands what the hell is in the ingredients. Like, what's, maybe not this one, but you know what I mean? Like, there's some ingredients that you're like, what the hell is that? And so you want to make sure that the first ingredient, if you're looking for a whole grain, whether it's bread, pasta, whatever, it has to say whole wheat. If it says enriched, anything else, it means that it is no longer a whole grain. So look out for that in the bread aisle. Okay. So some people don't have breakfast because they're like, all I eat is like lunch and dinner. And then a lot of those people might be trying to lose weight. My mom before it would ask me like, all I eat is 2 times a day. Why am I gaining weight? Why can't I lose weight if all I'm eating is 2 times a day? So it was because she's fasting all night, right? When we're sleeping. And then you wake up, you're supposed to have breakfast. I read somewhere where it says break fast, like you're breaking the fast, breakfast. And so you're eating, right? And what do we mean by we're eating? We get hungry because we need sugar in our body. And I'm not talking about sugar as in cereal or white sugar. I'm talking about what our food is going to give us calories, which is energy. And most of the time I've noticed that our bodies turn things into sugar for energy purposes. So if we're not eating and then we eat lunch, we're going to be very, very hungry. So we're going to have like a really big lunch. And then we're going to be full and tired, like, that part. And then we're going to not eat. We're going to push dinner back, but then we're going to get hungry. And then we're going to eat a heavy dinner. And if you match that with, are you doing exercise? Are the things that you're eating high in fiber? And are you also consuming a lot of water? And so these are a lot of things to think about. Like, that's why she wasn't losing weight, even though she's like, I'm just eating 2 times a day. And it's like, that's not how our bodies work. Our bodies need energy. And if you don't give it energy, it's going to
store it.
Basically, change everything that you do eat into fat, because fat is able to store longer. And so that's why she was gaining weight. Not to mention, she didn't have a high fiber diet, nor was she drinking all this water. So there's a lot that goes into that.
Lots of factors. Yeah, I've heard of that too. I used to think, well, when I was younger, I didn't require as like much, but as I've gotten older, I paid attention to that cause and effect. Like I wouldn't eat as much, but then I also saw myself gaining weight. And then that's when I started paying attention. I was like, oh, things are changing. And that was like around 25.
Yes. I'm very sensitive to food. I don't know if it's my hormones. I don't know what it is, but I always felt that a lot of people around me did not eat breakfast. And when I would come around people, or I would like spend the night at my brother's house or at your house, whoever, I'm like, I'm so hungry the moment I wake up. And so I'm like, why is no one eating? I can't invite myself to their kitchen and just make myself a whole breakfast. That's embarrassing. But with my grandparents, we understood each other, because they got up at like 4 a.m. to get bread and coffee. And then my grandma would bring it and leave it on the side of my bed. And I was still asleep for like the next 5 hours. And then we would wake up and they were already on their actual breakfast. And then like lunch an hour later. And I'm like, this is how I eat. Yeah. So what else? I guess that's it. I wanted to say things that contain fiber is fruits and vegetables, like we've been saying, whole grains, legumes, which is beans, lentils, different types of beans, different types of lentils.
Okay. Lentils. I heard something else. I was like, wait, what the heck is that?
Well, scientifically, it's called legumes.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Or not scientifically, like nutritionally. Because I don't use that word either. I'm like, beans, bitch. Not saying. Yeah. But no, I love, and again, stick with what you like. Something that I really don't like, but I'm finally starting to warm up to, is like garbanzo beans. I just don't F with them. I do if they're in hummus, but obviously it's processed. So, you want to eat things whole as possible. And then nuts and seeds, which again, for me, a big one is peanut butter. Some nuts and seeds that are like super high quality are really expensive, like walnuts, are so expensive. And then cashews. Can you see me?
Yeah, you were just kind of breaking up.
You're frozen on your side. Okay, can you see me? Did you get the nuts and seeds part?
I did.
Okay. So things that don't contain fiber is meat and dairy, like cheese and milk, and also eggs do not contain fiber. Oils and fats do not contain fiber. Most beverages and refined grain products. So again, refined grain products are white pasta, white rice, white bread, that type of stuff. Crackers, cookies. And then so solutions, we mentioned it, have a high fiber diet, and then start with what you like. If you hate apples, don't eat apples. Don't do that to yourself. You're going to end up throwing them away. It happens to me all the time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be about kale. Like when it first came out, I threw so much kale away when it first, when it became a thing.
Such a strong
It's
taste.
so crazy. Yeah, that one's a hard one. But can you see even with that one, how like, you're like, damn, how does my body going to digest this? Because it's so like crazy, but that actually helps. So if you can pair your proteins with whatever it is at this point, right? With fruits and vegetables. And then healthier proteins are the legumes, which are different types of beans and lentils. And that's my source. Oats also are high in protein. And then there's just a bunch of different things now that you can get that they've added. Or no, that
I've seen people do like powders, like spoonfuls.
Powders.
Yeah. And then they add it to like their water and it's like tasteless. So I've seen that.
Almond butter.
Whatever works. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of these natural plant-based milks also have some protein, not as much as dairy milk, but still, like almond milk, oat milk, coconut milk. I'm not too sure. I know almond milk and oat milk do. Yeah. So yeah, you guys, don't forget to eat your fruits and vegetables and pay attention to your poop.
Yeah. We hope this topic was informative because we love talking about food justice, and we just wanted to talk about something specific like that's going to help us all. It's a small little change in our diet.
Yay. So
Thanks.
think of us when you're putting that asada fry in your mouth. And
And invite. No, I'm just kidding. See, I'm
I
not
know.
there yet.
Yeah, exactly. And don't do it to yourself, because, you know, don't take anything out of your diet like that, because you're going to crave it. So just say, hey, today I ate some asada fries. What did I tell you? I say the next day, just try to eat a lot of like leafy greens, try to make some shakes, try to drink water, just so that you help your body digest the bad stuff and you can get it out of your system quicker. Okay, you guys. We love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please follow us on Instagram at Primas Podcast and on YouTube at Primas Podcast. Bye.
Bye. And we're out.